earlier I was here with Manuel to tell you about the work we've been doing together. Exploring improvisation as a way of making music collectively and blurring the lines between our roles. This time, I would like to share with you my own research, which follows along the same concerns. But first, many of you probably had this experience of doing a concert or a presentation, and especially during the concerts, to speak with the audience, either before, during or after you play. In my experience, there are two kinds of people regarding these moments. Those who prepare the text, they want to say and what they want to communicate to the audience, and those like me that prefer to improvise a little bit. What happens is, of course, there are situations like this one, when you are speaking in a language that's not your native one, like I'm here speaking in English. You can notice I'm not a native speaker. And other situations where you have too much information or a time limit where you have to do it in a controlled time. Of course, in those situations, it's really useful to fix the text you want to say, but there are other situations, like in concerts, where your focus is on communicating something with the public. So, in my experience, in those moments, it is always better and more spontaneous to improvise what you want to say. What I usually do is to define some sort of rules and to define what kind of key ideas I want to communicate to the audience, and then I improvise a little bit around that. It's kind of defining improvising rules, just like we did with Manuel before. So today, what I'm going to play for you are two pieces, or better, two movements from two different pieces. Really recent ones from this year. The first one is the second movement from Suite in Português, from the Portuguese composer Francisco Ribeiro. It's the second movement called Transplanted, as you can see there. And then the second movement, also from the piece Abstract Thoughts by Lawrence Axelrod, who is an American composer living in Portugal nowadays. And the second movement, it's called Thought Number 2. What I'm going to do is to play the written music, but in between I'll do a little interlude for which I define some short rules, like we did with Manuel, from aspects of the pieces of the written music. So I took some aspects from each one of those two movements and used them as key ideas to improvise something for you today. I'll be using just the vibraphone, which has a pickup microphone system installed, and a multi-effects pedal. So I can, for the interlude, also use some other sounds which are slightly different from the acoustic vibraphone sound. It's only, this time at least, it's only an echo during the interlude, an echo effect, and for the last movement I'll be using a chorus effect that emulates the motor from the vibraphone. That only works as a kind of catalyst for the improvising movement. So, those are the resources. And for the method, what I do, it's quite simple. As the title says, it's only the sum of the first approaches. So the process is quite simple right now. I took some elements from the written pieces. You will hear that the music from Francisco he uses a lot of long notes to do the melody in thirds or sixths, or transpositions or inversions of that chord. It's quite simple, and dead strokes as a rhythmic accompaniment. Also, the last piece, the second movement from Lawrence Axelrod's music, uses also dead strokes, but in an arpeggio-like way. So I'll use those resources and try to mix them up and to do a small improvisation with them to connect those two movements. So now let's listen to it and I will come back here later. some final thoughts on this. In an interview I carried out as part of my research project recently, I heard these two ideas. That excellence nowadays might come from uniqueness. This came regarding that there are lots of people, thankfully, doing great music around the world right now, and we can contact with so much information and so many people that what really make some musician differ in this scenario, sorry, is the uniqueness of what we do, and that interest in on stage comes from the ability to surprise who's listening to us. So, of course, we all practice every day to achieve the richest performances we can, but beyond that, we're all trying also to develop our own artistic voices and our own ways of being on stage. With this presentation, what I want to discuss with all of you is the relationship between the act of improvisation and the creation that is based on that, and the ability to communicate in a genuine and spontaneous way that makes each concert different from each other. And I would like to leave you this question. To what extent is still relevant for a performer to rely solely on the execution of written repertoire as their only form of expression? I also think that this kind of processes to improvise, even when it's still really simple, can help us to think about the way we teach as educators, which me and Manuel, for example, are also. Instead of only reproducing music, thinking about that and doing something really similar but also different might help us to understand the music we play, and the students to understand the music they play in a different way, and to find different forms of presenting the concerts that are not only presenting one piece after the other, but in one of millions of different ways, trying to do a different model of concert. We still have time, but actually that's it. That's what I bring today for the discussion.